tell me you're outside, I promise. I'll tell me you're outside, honey.
Hi, everybody. Awful. Thank you for joining us today for a special edition of Deborah Kobylt Live. I appreciate you all being here. You know, so much has happened these past few weeks with the hurricanes. We've had Harvey and Irma and Maria, but nobody expected the havoc that happened just over the weekend when Stephen Paddock, someone that was pretty much under the radar, if you will, and maybe should not have been under the radar, shot and killed 59 people, and over 500 people are in the hospital injured. And on the line with me today, I wanted to talk to Gregg Bouslog. Gregg, are you there?
Yes, I'm right here.
Thank you for being here with us. You are the owner of the On Target Range Tactical Training Center over in Orange County, California. Because what happens often, a lot of the media, CNN, Fox News, everyone is asking, how the heck did this guy get a hold of so many AR-15 rifles and go undetected? And as a man who owns a gun shop, I want to know, how does somebody go into your store and just purchase something like this and then go back again and then go back again and again to the point where nobody picked up the phone and said, maybe we ought to watch this guy? You know, like, for example, when someone comes into your store, do you say, what are you using it for? Or you're not allowed to do something like that? Is that against someone's rights?
No, it's not against someone's rights. And many, many times when a new individual comes in and wants to shoot or purchase a rifle, we'll enter a discussion with them. You know, what kind of rifle do you want? What do you think you're going to do with it? We ask those questions to make sure that they're buying the right kind of rifle for what they want. Now, I'm not privy to what he told a certain number of gun shops there in Arizona, Nevada. He bought guns in Nevada from several different gun stores, is what I've been related to me. And in all cases, he followed the law, which was he has to fill out a form. It's a federal form, 4473 it's called. It's submitted. The FBI does a background check. They have a database of who buys what guns. The gun itself, the firearm itself, whatever firearm it is registered as to that individual. So we already have, in effect, a national database of guns sold and who they went to. So they knew he had them. They knew he had the pistols. He had all of them. So in Nevada, a lot of people buy these types of rifles, go out into the desert and shoot because they're lightweight, easy to use, easy to maintain, and in effect, they're fun to shoot. So him buying 1 or 2 or 10 wouldn't have been a big whistle for people to hear because he was following what many people do. Many people.
You say they're fun to shoot. When people go out and shoot with these types of rifles, what are they shooting at? Is it
Usually
just for fun?
just
Target? Is it animals? Targets? What is it?
It's all different kinds of targets, paper targets, maybe glass bottles. So they're fun to break. Several of the ranges there locally have long-distance ranges, 100 yards up to 1,000-yard ranges there in Nevada, right there in Clark County. Mm-hmm. Most ranges that people take these particular rifles to usually shoot at 100 yards to 300 yards. And so he would have had, adequate places to practice, but nobody's come up with him practicing anywhere. I mean, everybody's asking, do you know this guy? Do you know this guy? Because shooters in general are a pretty friendly group. We're kind of unique. And we are very good about making friends and camaraderie. And, you know, what toy do you have? You know, well, I have this and I have that. And some of the list he has some Daniel Defense DD M4 rifles. Those are, you know, good $1,000 rifles, $2,000 rifles, good quality, good shooters. The 3 FN-15s that they listed he had, those are higher end. Those are $2,000 guns.
So let me just ask you this. Are these necessary? I mean, I get that guys go out into the desert and have a real fun time shooting at target practice, but then you've got a guy like this who just goes under the radar, who's buying 1, 2, 3. I don't know. How many did they find? 29, I believe. That's a lot. I mean, shouldn't there be a point where there's a number? Let's say, you know, he's in your register and you go, he's bought his 5th one in the last 2 months. Maybe we ought to, report this. And that doesn't seem to happen. We've got to have
No,
some kind of stricter regulation on this. Because somebody, even
there's
one
no
guy
restriction
going, say it again. What's that?
There's just no restriction on the number because the same thing as buying a car. How many cars can somebody have?
Somebody said that to me the other day. You know what they said? They said, it's like buying a painting. I'm not going to ask why you buy 10 paintings. I'm like, well, the painting isn't going to hurt anybody. And the car, hopefully, won't hurt anybody unless they intend to use a different car every week to run people down. But a rifle could potentially hurt someone. And if they buy too many of them, I would think, what about a law to say, after a certain number of rifle purchases, this guy gets a security check, a special security check. What are you doing with them? Do you agree?
Well, that's a slippery slope because now you're trying to pick a number about, you can only buy 3 hammers. You don't need number 4. You're only going to buy 3 cars. You're only going to buy, you can't pick a number because you once you put a boundary on something, then you've defined it as the ability to limit something which is not limited now.
Do you think there should be a limit? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I don't agree at all. And that's not because I'm a capitalist and I sell guns. Far from it.
No, your reputation, may I just say something? You have a really good reputation, and that's why we wanted to call you, because you're a fair person and you're someone who I believe if you saw something out of the ordinary that you would make a few calls on it. So, and I believe that. I know what you're telling me is truthful, but go ahead.
Yeah, I find it difficult to set limits. I think that people, and I said this before, and that is the greatest fear the Secret Service has is that lone shooters, a guy like this, who on nobody's radar, who on nothing ever in his past except for a speeding ticket, and maybe because his dad was a known criminal, maybe that should have flagged him, and maybe it did in an FBI database. But without any information whatsoever, you can't stop this loner. There's no way to stop a loner unless they open their mouth up and somebody gets a whiff of something or somebody thinks of something. And by the way, you'd said earlier, maybe somebody should have said something. The FBI, I have informed what we here in California have the Department of Justice, the DOJ, as well as the FBI ATF system. We have in the past said, we're uncomfortable with this guy. We can't legally not sell it to him, but we're going to delay it a little bit, call the DOJ and say, we need to look at this guy.
Well, that's what I mean.
We don't get a buzz.
People need to speak up. Look, I mean, he was abusive to his girlfriend, at the very least. There are reports about that. Now, you might say a lot of people, unfortunately, are abusive to their girlfriends and wives or whatever. But I don't know. I'm the kind of person where I would take notice, and I don't think I'd chase him out into the parking lot. But I take notice of stuff like that. And he's a loner. He's abusive. He's buying too many guns. Somewhere along the line, something slipped through the crack. A lot slipped through the crack.
Right.
I just also
here in California. Go ahead.
Okay. Also, as you know about gun control and do we really need? I know you say there are no such thing as assault rifles, or called AR-15s. Do we really need them?
I think we do.
Why?
I think we need the ability to have anything we want that makes sense. I don't agree that people should have, 105 millimeter howitzers. But at the same time, if you think about it, and let's talk about full automatic. People say, "Oh, I want a full automatic." Well, this guy converted guns illegally. He broke the law. He broke the law multiple times. He killed people. That's against the law. He modified the guns. That's against the law. But if you've ever handled a fully automatic weapon, you realize every time you empty a magazine, a 30-round magazine, that's 20 cents a round times 30. Doesn't take very long to be a very expensive hobby. So
hey, this guy gambled. Who knows how much money he had? He was, stocking away money over in the Philippines, and who knows what he had? I mean, he was going in and he was gambling and he was putting his money, it looks like, toward rifles. I mean, I just can't even imagine that nobody knew anything. I notice everything. I mean, I tell you, people say, my God, do you ever just mind your own business? Maybe we need more people who don't mind their own. No, I'm serious about that. Who are just part of the community and go, who just speak up a little bit. I'm really serious.
And that, by the way, since 9/11, I have seen more people speak up.
Oh, I have too.
But
I feel like I keep
we
interrupting you, but I
do
have to.
that.
Go ahead, but I have to. You want to know something? I spoke up once at an airport, and I said, this individual is really, really scaring me. It says, just right after 9/11. Guess who got pulled over going onto that plane? Not the guy, because he was in front of us. I did with three little boys. They had to take off their sneakers, and I had to take off my stuff. And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. Sometimes they're just not smart in the way they do things either. Look, this has upset me greatly. I know people who've been affected in Las Vegas. I just think there has to be something. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
One of my employees, I had one of my employees standing there when the firing started. He and his girlfriend were right out in the middle, and a young woman not 20 feet from him got hit. He is a former Marine, or he's a current Marine actually, transitioning out. He knows gunfire. He heard it. He pushed everybody he could to the ground. In between magazine changes, he got up, escorted people away from the position, and every time they started to fire, he'd have them huddle down again and keep doing it. He transitioned out of the area, taking about 20 people with him to try and get, come on, move. So yeah, he's been in the sandbox. He's a veteran, and been in firefights and everything else. As soon as he heard the first shot, he knew what it was and reacted appropriately. And I think that's why more people weren't killed, is because there was a lot of vets in that crowd.
And a lot of very brave people, a lot of very good people. Nobody deserved what happened. It was horrendous. However, I mean, when our forefathers designed the Second Amendment, they couldn't have possibly predicted this 250 years later. And I guess that's very often I think about that. And I think that Second Amendment right, and to hold on to our Second Amendment, I understand it, but something has to be done where it's modified, because this is getting out of hand. And just one guy is just too many. So I'm not quite sure what it is. There's all kinds of gun control out there that always seems to get knocked down. We can't get it passed through. No one can get it really passed through. But something else, stricter security measures. I don't know. Just even if it's too strict, that's what you got to go through.
Well, I mentioned this earlier. I use Chicago as my example.
Yeah.
It has extremely strict gun laws, very, very strict. In the month of September, 57 people were shot and killed. 273 people were shot. So far this year, the year of 2017, 499 people have died in Chicago.
I agree.
Nobody cared.
Well, I care. I care hearing that, and I'd like to know how those people got a hold of those guns. Again, to my point, stricter controls. I mean, it's gotten out of hand. 250 years ago, I don't think they would have predicted this. They did not know what life would be like, that people would just be walking around streets carrying these things, and they didn't expect the crowds. They didn't expect the mass transit. They didn't expect the kind of lifestyle that we lead. So I'm just saying we can't hold on to a Second Amendment right the way it was designed and have this continue to happen. Like I said, one guy is too many. And I want something to your point before. You were talking about hammers. Hammers don't do mass killings. Do you see what I mean? Guns can be, we have to just be careful, because if it gets in the hands of the wrong people, it's no longer target practice out on the fields. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So.
And yeah, you and I like your show, and I have wonderful times disagreeing with people about certain things. So I look at any kind of gun controls laws. I look at it against drug laws. It's against the law to have certain kinds of drugs, much less children. And yet every single day, thousands die from drug overdoses and misuse and abuse.
Look.
And we know how well those drug laws have worked.
They don't. But, it's a whole nother show. But look, here in California, we approved the legalization of marijuana. I was dead set against it. I didn't think there were proper regulations. I also find marijuana to be a gateway drug. But again, that's a whole nother show. But Gregg Bouslog, again, you're a very, I really appreciate your coming on. You're a very responsible guy. You are the owner of On Target Range and Tactical Training Center in Orange County, California. I appreciate your being here for the debate, and a lot to come in the next few days. Thank you.
All right. You be good.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And everybody, thank you for being here for another edition of Deborah Kobylt Live. I've been so moved and glued to the television. I know people who've been affected. My own family has been holding vigil for friends that have been affected over in Las Vegas. It's such a sad thing that's happening, and I want to do whatever we can as people, even if it means that those of us on the street just speak out if we think someone's a little odd, and that the law enforcement people really take note and listen. Anyway, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.